Spouses and partners of Reddit, what red flags are you glad you ignored? How she'd worry over the smallest things. Anything that went wrong. Dentist, food going off, traffic, not having enough time to wash her hair, would send her into a panic and put her in a foul mood that could last for hours. I'm the exact opposite, completely laid back. If the dentist doesn't have good news, I'll accept it and not worry. If food goes off, I'll pop down to the shops and grab some more, and if we're late because of traffic, that's just how it goes. I thought her moods would be the thing to end us, to slowly wear down my patience to a point where I'd stop trying to comfort, reassure and calm her down. I was wrong. Reader, I've never been happier, and we're good for each other. I can calm her down and she can make me care about things I didn't used to think were a big deal but ultimately are. We work so well together. First date. He had a man sheet on his truck seat and 2 ropes on the floor. I'm sorry, I've been to the ranch and I was cutting weeds. Little did I know, there were also 2 shovels under the back seat. He is a biologist and he will hunt down plants. My spouse's very weird and unusual sense of humor. I was afraid he was mentally unstable. He would draw weird cartoons, mimic people's voices and mannerisms, creepily accurate, and tell the craziest stories. It turns out he's just freaking hilarious and he usually keeps me belly laughing once a week. I have a very dark sense of humor, darker than most. I'm very thankful my husband finds it cute, because most find it weird and I'm sure revolting sometimes. This just let me know most people, no matter their quirks, are going to find someone who will enjoy and embrace their weirdness. When I met him, my husband had just closed his comic book store. I had a few people who didn't know him at all tell me that he was a loser because he had a comic book store and that type never does well in life. I knew his store closed for reasons out of his control. Business partner for cancer, sold the store to pay for treatment, and that he was seriously depressed about it. No one else seemed to see the man I did and I felt like I was stealing him. Legit the most generous, kindest, funniest, smart butt dude I've ever met. I'm glad I ignored him because I doubt I could find a better partner in life. There's been a lot of crap thrown at us but we have navigated it together. I love him and despite how much the rest of my life sucks, my marriage is resilient and healthy. When I met my wife and we became more and more intimate, she opened up to me and told me she didn't want to have secrets from me. She then proceeded to tell me the story how she had spent some time in a psychiatric clinic recently and what she had been through. I was a little bit scared first, but she managed to convince me that she had made a full recovery. She told me she went full jackpot with me and risked me getting up and leaving her, but she didn't want to build our relationship on a lie. We have been married for 15 years now and she's the love of my life. That's a green flag. That's called honesty. Probably the most important trait since it basically negates most the bad ones. I ignored all the huge red flags about his family. They were loud, overbearing, oversensitive, negative and narcissistic. My husband's none of those things. I literally told him after meeting them that I never knew families like his really existed. Thought it was some exaggeration or dramatic trope. Fortunately, nearly 15 years later, my in-laws are all cut off or dead and we have zero family drama. The moral here is killing your in-laws equals zero family drama. I mistook my husband's relaxed attitude with not caring. Nope, he really is that easygoing. Now I love his even temperament. Sometimes is annoying but is mostly calming. This is me, calm and relax AF. My girlfriend is a fricked up hurricane but we do love each other. LOL. Best of luck to both of you. He had a side gig as a puppeteer and used to use the plastic eyes from second-hand stuffed animals for the puppets. So when I met him I found a bag of eyeless stuffed animals. I made him show me the puppets for proof before getting over it. He's the best though and we've been married for over a decade with a family. The serial killer room. I went home with him for the first time to a completely blank room. No personal possessions, white bedspread and pillows. The windows had bars on them. I gave him a cool picture for his walls. Didn't get murdered, and been living together 2 years now. He's just tidy. We are the complete opposite. I love to flit around, not staying anywhere too long and live in the short term without any kind of planning on impulse. She hates the idea of being without a long-term plan and knows exactly what she wants to do with the rest of her life. She has managed to help me sort out some kind of realistic path for the rest of my life, our lives, and I've managed to get her on a rough planned tour of SE Asia. Keep going till the money runs out. We have managed to develop the parts of our personalities that made life difficult for us, and each individually blossomed as a pair. We are currently on our way to Malaysia, and I've managed to stash a ring in my backpack. She makes me excited for the rest of my life. As a Malaysian, do it in Pankar, or Penang or Langkawi. They are all great places to pop the question. Penang has dope food, char kway teow, Assam laksa, sendal. You should go there if you have the chance, and good luck. I was always told to date a man that treats his mom right and is a family man because I could expect him to treat me the right way. My so hates his mom and has always been private about his family. We celebrate 7 years together next month, and I've never regretted looking past the family thing. Both of our families were worried the 7-year age gap would be a big hurdle to overcome. I was 20 and she 27. 11 years together and 5 years married. It's never been an issue. Hey, I'm 7 years older than my husband. That's the same exact age we met too. Love this story. I thought he was too rigid the way he runs his life. He has his routines and follows a schedule for everything. 4 years and some later, as it turns out, eating home cooked meals and going to bed at 11 and waking up at 7 every day does wonders to your health. My partner had a string of crazy ex-girlfriends, which is usually a massive red flag. Turns out he has really low self-esteem and ended up with these awful girls because he didn't think he deserved any better. He'd keep trying to work on the relationship while beyond the point most people would bail, after them gaslighting, cheating, burning his belongings, etc. I'm so glad I ignored that red flag. He's the sweetest guy and their crazy was completely not his fault. Beyond poor judgment dating them in the first place, lol. Okay, but how do we know that you're not also crazy? She doesn't like pancakes. It is still annoying. And she says I should just make them for myself, but I'm like, how am I gonna make pancakes for one person? God. She is super great though, so I'm over it. She wouldn't organize for me to meet her family. It's 2 years in, we're now married, and I still haven't met them, but it's okay. I've met her friends and for her they are her family, so that's all okay in my book. I thought she was too sensitive, especially since I'm the complete opposite of that. She brings joy and excitement to my life and I wouldn't change a thing now. Bit of a twist in that I was the partner with all the red flags. My now husband was pretty against dating someone with mental health issues when we started going out, due to bad past experiences. I've got bipolar disorder and a history of abuse that left me with a screwed up relationship with sex. In retrospect, I was the opposite of what he was looking for, but he stayed because he realized I was working my tail off to get better and he's still amazed at the progress I've made. I think he realized that mental illness and trauma are not necessarily red flags if the person with them isn't using you as a crutch. Good for you. Working on your mental health is such a challenge, but also so rewarding. Keep up the good work, and good for your partner for being such a good person, for understanding and being supportive. My boyfriend came on to me really fast and strong, which I've always been told was a red flag. Asked me out 3 days after meeting me. Told me he loved me a week later. Wanted to get married after 4 months. Turns out whirlwind romances do exist because we're perfect for each other and still going strong 5 years later. I was the weirdo. I knew about my husband the day after we got together for our one night stand. I told him straight out that I thought it was love and that I wasn't fricking around. Was he in or out? Thankfully he said he felt the same way. Actually I said I was too old to be fricking around. I was 22. In hindsight that is way younger than it felt at the time. 16 years together next week. My dad always told me, I don't care who you bring home, as long as they have their own drill. I come from a family of woodworkers with a lot of DIY experience. My partner doesn't have his own drill, but he was absolutely amazing in every other way, so my dad loved him right from the start despite this egregious fault. I like it. I have over a dozen drills. He had severe depression, no job, had dropped out of uni, lived at home with his parents, and on meeting him, clearly autistic, he's freaking wonderful, the kindest, Gentlest man I've ever met. He works so hard to overcome so much all the time, despite it being so difficult for him. He supports me through everything unquestioningly, put in hours of effort to help me through my degree and professional exams, and when I was pushing for promotion, he always has time for me, no matter what. We've been together 8 years, married for 6 years. He got his degree through distance learning and is now doing a master's and has a job. He achieved so much and he just needed some love and support to get there. I'm so freaking lucky to have him. As a guy in a similar position, minus the autism, this gives me hope. Thanks for that. My wife, for as long as I've known her, has been incredibly driven, always organized, has an action plan and a backup plan for everything. Definitely a lot more mature than I am, probably ever be. She's a very typical type A person. I'm the complete opposite of that. Go with the flow, no organization. Procrastinate nearly everything I did. While we were dating, I was really worried that she'd leave me because of how I am personally. However, we both complement each other really well. She makes sure I'm accountable for what needs to be get done and helps me stay on track. And as she puts it, I reminded her to have some fun now and again. I'm really fortunate to have her in my life and that she accepts me for who I am through all of my quirks. I met him on the internet and he's older than me. Met online when I was 12 and he was 15. He lived across the country. Met up in person when I was 16 and he was 19. Got together after that and married this year. We're now 24 and 27. Glad I ignored don't meet strangers online, however I am an advocate for being safe online. When we met in person I met him with 10 of my friends just in case he was a murderer. When on our second date he was super nervous and giving me some real timid guy vibes. He was doing this thing where he would look at me and nervously bite his lip. At the time I had only ever dated super macho, very confident men. It was a real turn off and I distinctly remember thinking ugh, okay, just get through this date. Best decision ever. 6.5 years later he is my husband, and the best thing that ever happened to me. He is just the best thing in the world and I couldn't give a crap about those type A guys I used to go for. I'm so glad I ended up with him because he's exactly what I need. He's way braver and more confident in himself than the kind of men I thought I was into. And his lip biting thing when he's nervous is rare and super cute. I really love my husband. Gonna go tell him again. I can relate. When I met my future husband he came off as shy and kinda goofy. Told my friend I'd met a guy who was nice but not really my type, which was type A guys. Best advice she gave me was maybe you've been chasing the wrong type. 10 years and 2 kids later wouldn't exchange him for anything. He's so much kinder and stronger than I thought I deserved. I was worried that the gap between our family's wealth would be an issue. Lower middle versus upper middle. It probably would have been if I were with her sister. He doesn't like cheese at all. I freaking live for cheese. But it's okay. More for me. Everything for me, to be exact. I don't like cheese either. My husband is weirdly protective about it. He will tell the pizza place 4 times and that one has no cheese on it. It is very important that it does not have any cheese. But he never has to worry about me eating his food. My fiance's previous marriage. We met on Tinder and at the time we were both fairly young. I was 23, he was 25, and I wasn't really looking for anything serious. I had a habit of discounting people with what I presumed might be baggage like ex-wives or kids, although he doesn't have any, because it wasn't anything I felt ready to take on. However, we really hit it off and he was always very upfront about the situation from day one. So I decided to roll with it. We've been together 3.5 years, are engaged and are now expecting our first child together. He spent an hour of our first date talking about the elaborate way he planned to kill himself. Turns out that nobody had ever really listened to him, including his ex-wife, and he was feeling hopeless and invisible. Once he had a chance to talk some stuff through, his depression quickly faded, and he's been the best husband and co-parent I could ever want for 13 years now. Bold strategy that really seems more like second or third date material. Her 3 kids. At first I was like, hey, I don't know about this. All it took was one hug and it changed to okay, I can live with this. Reminds me of my dad. He married my mother when she had 4 children all age 5 or under. You all are the best type of people. My husband is 6 years older and had been in a pseudo long distance open relationship. This girl lived in another state and essentially had him on reserve as her vacation boyfriend on her family's 3+ trips to his town each year. I confirmed what the situation was with the right people and took my time to ease into asking him out and made it clear that I was interested in a serious relationship, unlike the other girl's firm nothing serious routine. Essentially, I snatched my husband off another girl's hook. LOL dang. He wasn't known for long relationships. I thought he wouldn't keep anyone. He is just a very unique personality that I love. Many girls found that annoying and left. Been together 5 years. Been kind of friends since 7. She wanted us to not tell people we were dating. Wondered whether that was a red flag about and whether she would be willing to commit to a relationship. A few months later we made it public and we are now married. Turns out she felt that I could be the one and didn't want to jeopardize it by having people gossip. I just turned 18 when we met and he was 24. We also happened to meet 2 months before I was leaving for college 4 hours away. The long distance sucked and my parents weren't huge fans of the age difference, but the next fall semester he decided to follow me and we both graduated in July. It's been 2 years since we started dating and we're about to move in together. Edit. My parents don't care anymore about the age gap. They love him and keep asking when the wedding is. My boyfriend is 9 years older than I am. LOL I kinda like the age gap. Even if my co-workers don't understand it. My family had no problems with it though. When I first met him, I thought he was one of those people who was too cool to like things and a bit negative. Turns out he's the sweetest, most caring and most romantic person I've ever met. I'm so lucky. I gave my number to a good looking guy who approached me in a bar and forgot about it. Around 2 AM that night, I got drunk dialed by someone I thought was my male housemate. He identified himself with that name and said he was standing outside and to please let him in because it was cold. My housemate at the time did have a habit of locking himself out and doing hilarious dumb crap while drunk. I went outside and saw nothing. I looked up and down the street while the guy on the phone insisted he was there. After talking to him some more, I realized the guy on the phone wasn't my roommate but the guy I'd given my number to earlier that night. He just had the same name as my housemate. He was just massively drunk. He'd lost his wallet and keys. Later that night, he cabbed home without realizing he had no wallet, and the cab driver called the cops on him in front of his building. Apparently, he'd just gotten out of a terrible relationship and was drinking himself into a stupor. I was single and bored and had nothing better going on, and he seemed like a nice enough guy. I let all this slide when he told me about it on our first date, including his recent cheating girlfriend. We've been married for 4 years now and have 2 kids together. Drinking heavily and being stupid is not something I've seen him do since the night we met. The situation with his ex just really messed with his head. He sounds nice. I can't really blame him go drinking in that situation. He was kinda creepy at first and I had to stop him. I felt like he had too many emotional issues I didn't want to deal with and our friendship really deteriorated, but then, when he gave me the space I needed to heal from a past relationship and I opened my mind to give him a chance, our relationship became really beautiful. He's an absolutely beautiful person. He's the best boyfriend ever. We've been together for 2 years now. He's so considerate and loving. He was just very awkward and truly didn't know what was expected from him. He is the sweetest and I'm so happy. That is sweet. Wishing you guys another happy 2 years. One of my best friends in college claimed my girlfriend was a succubus. Made life a bit difficult since he was also my roommate. 2 years later he had a brain tumor removed. My wife and I have been together now for 16 years and have a beautiful daughter. Didn't ever meet her parents. 1 year and 2 months later, she finally opens up her shell and tells me that they died in a car accident days before we met. I thought he was way too clingy and loved stuffed animals a lot and a little too attached to stuff. He turned out to be a guy with a big heart who taught me a lot about caring for people, who mellowed out a lot. He's working on the sentimentality and having too much stuff. He likes having space for living in too. I'm late but I want to share anyways. In the beginning he came on way too strong. He immediately approached me at every event he saw me. If I would catch a glimpse of him, I knew he would be standing around me within no time, sometimes not even talking to me, just joining the people I was with and standing there listening, beaming. My friends would make jokes about it and make bets of how long he could bear to wait until he came over. Once at a pub quiz, he got our team disqualified because he kept excitingly joining in, but we already had too much people. He tried hard to spend time with me. When I would tell him I was too busy with an assignment, he would suggest a homework date, not getting any hints and just genuinely being excited that we found something we could do together. For some reason he would show his affection by fixing small things in my room around him, like neatly rearranging my cables while we talked. At our first official date going out for a drink, he would talk non-stop about himself and about his ex that he had broken up with just the month before. That was a red flag, and him being all over me was too. I turned him down. But by then, I had already started to get fond of him, and that grew during the months when I had some space to reflect on it. Then, when I was with someone else and I found him too drunk at some party, he tapped on my shoulder and he said to me something like, "Hey, I am ready to go home now." His best friend immediately took over, because my date was with me, and took him home. But him saying that made me realize that I actually wanted to be the one to take him home and reassure him. Now together for almost 2 years, taking him home ever since. Have never won any pub quizzes again and have excellent cable management now. 10/10 can recommend. It's amazing how that one drunk moment made you realize how much he meant to you. The morning after we first met, we met at a party and I'd stayed over. He told me, fully serious, that he wanted to be a bear. He also told me that morning how he only likes hoodies with one front pocket because it makes him feel like a kangaroo mama. Really weirded me out. That was the kind of thing he'd tell someone he basically just met. Turns out that said a lot more about his honesty than anything else. He is the kindest, most generous, rational and caring man I've ever met, and just the right amount of weird for me. Kangaroo mama. My wife has a flirty personality that dudes and chicks like really fast. I was jealous out of my freaking mind for the first few years, angry, shaming her, controlling. Something clicked in me where I figured out that she's a human living her own life with me. Our marriage couldn't be more sexy and strong. We couldn't be more in love the last 7+ years. It stemmed from me being jealous about girlfriends when I was younger. It's just how I operated. It turns out being jealous and controlling makes you a miserable person to be around. I realized, why do I deserve control? Once you ask yourself that question, you realize why you're in butthole. My wife never said this to me, by the way. This was a personal journey. And once you can figure out that no one deserves control over another person, you become a more confident, in control person yourself, which then attracts other confident, in control people. It's basically win-win. A lot of these answers, such as yours, are making me realize how many amazing, self-reflective people with massive capacity for growth there are out there. This is really nice to read. Your SOS are as lucky to have you as you are them. We started our relationship hurting from our past relationships. We swore up and down that we would be friends with benefits and nothing more, cause frick relationships lol. 3 months into this fun time I decided I liked him and wanted to be more. He told me twice he looked at me as a friend. Told myself frick this guy, I am not getting hurt again, and stopped talking to him. If I hadn't decided to return that message and see him one more time and say yes to being his girlfriend, we wouldn't have 8 awesome years together and celebrated our 5-year-old daughter's day. 3. This could be a Judd Apatow movie that releases during Christmas week. She's asexual, and I'm a very sexual person. I completely overlooked it on her online profile when we first started talking, and when I realized my mistake, I wasn't sure what to do. She was smart, funny, a great conversationalist, and beautiful inside and out, but I worried, if I was always wanting something she couldn't provide, didn't that mean our relationship would be doomed right from the get-go? When I agreed to meet with her, I wasn't sure it was a good idea. I didn't know what to expect, but she was every bit as much a kind and amazing person in the flesh as she was in text. Also, I found out, my conception of asexual was a bit oversimplified. It turns out, she can have sex, and under the right circumstances can even enjoy it, but does not become sexually attracted to people or desire it. In the years since, She has been nothing short of a dream. I love her as a person and thoroughly enjoy our physical relationship too. I can't imagine my life without her. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.